I'm Rogers Anderson, Williamson County's mayor, and today we're going to have a conversation about the 2012 Williamson County Fair. And with us we have Diane Giddens and DeWayne Perry, and thank you both for coming on the show today and kind of have a highlight about the fair.
Thank you.
We have just finished the fair just recently, and we know that Channel 3, the local channel here in Williamson County, will be televising for the next several days and weeks and parts of the fair each evening or during the course of the day. And we thought we'd just kind of touch a little bit about the overall success of the fair, the overall conditions of the fair, and believe it or not, we are already beginning the conversations about our 2013 fair. So around the corner, DeWayne, let's jump into it first of all from your side, from the ag side. You and Diane have both been very involved from the very start of this fair. This was our 8th fair, and when you think about it, it was about 9 years ago, or almost 10, that we started the planning processes, which, when you think about it, was a long time ago, but it just seems like yesterday. But one of the things we said about the Williamson County Fair we wanted to do was to build that around the agriculture side, the educational piece of the ag side, how it would help 4-H, how it would help to better educate our community, how it would better have people to come into the ag center itself and see the facility in a different light and put a different spotlight even on the ag side. But kind of touch a little bit about that, and certainly to all of the volunteers and the people that participated and those sponsors. We just couldn't do this fair without them.
Right, it's just amazing the amount of support we get from the community, and it's amazing sometimes the folks that come out. You know, many of them help with the fair that are not the typical community servant kind of folks, if you know what I'm trying to say. Every community has the folks that make the churches and the little festivals happen, and we have a lot of people beyond that group of people that get involved in the fair. It was, you know, when we started the county fair, we were able to roll a lot of the existing 4-H type activities together and bring them all in at one time. We were having dairy shows and chicken sales and cake auctions and all those kind of things as separate events, and the fair gave us a place to showcase all those and bring them together, and I think extend our audience, you know, that we're seeing that happening significantly. And this time, you know, Diane, we moved down on the main stage for some of those activities, and that gave me even more exposure, and we appreciate the opportunity to do that.
You know, and you bring a good point up that we've all have learned in this process, that from those early days, the mission that we had, we've kept true to form. But the activities, the involvement, learning from our mistakes, and embracing different changes, we've all had to change. And I know, Diane, that over the years we've tried to fill up the ag center down on the floor. We've had it full, we've had it not so full, and we just continually try to work and get the best program that we possibly can.
Right, and we do try to learn each year how we can make the next year better, and things that worked well and in our favor and for the in favor of the fair visitors, that things that we can improve on each year. And I think bringing the 4-H activities down on the main stage and not having that competing sound did give them a better spotlight this year, and we were happy to be able to do that.
When you look at the activities we have on the fairgrounds, certainly Little Ones Farming is the blue ribbon of the fair, of the entire 9-day fair that we have. And our fair is always held on the first Friday of August. A lot of people ask, why do we have to have it during that period? It's so hot, and then it's because you do need a midway. You need an individual that will come, and Jimmy Drew's done an outstanding job for us. And we have to work it around so many different schedules that there's not good quality midway people out there that we would want to engage our fair with. Plus, we were trying to miss some of the other fairs that are going around the local area.
Yeah.
You've got Wilson County Fair, which Hale Moss, their president or director, whatever the title is, has been very helpful to us. He actually came on our fairgrounds here in 2012, and we'll go up there to share ideas. It's kind of like a big family, but when you think about Little Ones Farming, DeWayne, wow, what an activity that is.
It's been a great thing, and of course Sherry Sanders and that whole group of people, there's about a dozen folks that are very heavily involved in that committee with Sherry that work 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time, and we packed that trailer yesterday, and it's a tractor trailer full of stuff. But you've got to remember, in addition to that, there's no telling how many truckloads, pickup truckloads of stuff have gone back home. There's so much of their personal items they bring in to make that happen. Riverbend Nursery, we had a whole trailer load of plants that we put in there, to dress it up, and the straw that we borrow from Barry Moss, and just all those kind of things that add to that exhibit. But it is really, it's a great exhibit. It's a state fair level type of exhibit, and we're fortunate to be able to do it.
I know for the last several years, Diane and Terry have kind of been our liaison to go to the National Fair Association,
Right.
International Fair Association, and that event is held at different places throughout the United States. And Diane always has that opportunity to go and see new acts, new events that are coming on. But for the last several years, we've been able to highlight and showcase the Little Ones Farming, not only at that national event, and submit it for prizes for the viewing audience. We take some of the acts that we've got, some of the events that we're doing, some of the changes that we anticipate, and try to enter them into state level fair or at the international level fair, where you exhibit your fair and try to win events. And I know, Diane, if you wouldn't mind just kind of touching on those over the last couple of years, and why you're thinking of that, because it wasn't a question you were prepared for. When we got into this fair, I think we were one of the first fairs across the state of Tennessee that was really pushing and promoting a website fair. Now, we've got the catalogs and we've got the brochures that we hand out, but we even received an award for that a few years ago.
We have won an award for our website in the past 3 years, both at the state and the national conferences. So we're very, very tickled about that, because it takes a lot of people providing information to us for us to get on there, because that seems to be the most go-to way of people finding information out about our fair. It's the new technology age, and people do utilize it quite a bit for information about our fair. So we're very pleased with that.
Little Ones Farming's received some very prestigious awards.
Yes, they have, and this year they had record attendance, I believe, out of all the years, including the first year of our fair. Over 31,000 folks went through.
I never did hear the total, but I'm not surprised. Yeah.
And so they continue to be, as you indicated, our blue ribbon piece of the fair, as folks bring their children and grandchildren, as you both have done in the past couple of years, to the fair and let them walk through that.
Well, when you think about Little Ones Farming, and if you're watching this show and never had the opportunity to go to the fair, we would really encourage you to do it next August in 2013. I would encourage you, if from a grandparent's standpoint, Wayne is too, if you have a child of about a year old to a year and a half, that's a great time to take them, hold them in your arms, walk through the pavilions and the doors and the gates, because first of all, you're going to see a bunch of individuals there with strollers and children, and it's very, very interactive, and then it opens itself up into where the chickens and the hogs and the piglets, and of course we had a mama pig that had some fresh little piglets for the children to see, and to see nature and to see the activities we've got in the limited space that we have. It's an award-winning event. Let's shift gears a little bit, DeWayne. I know that we have so many sponsors. I've almost scared to start naming them, and I'll start with you though, DeWayne, because I know there are several sponsors that help to promote the ag side down on the side, and I'll go ahead and start with Tractor Supply. They have been with us since day one. Right. They have helped us to make this fair one of the better fairs in the state of Tennessee. And our fair is different. It's clean, it's safe. We really, really do spend a lot of time and money and energy in meeting the objections and the missions that were laid out to us in those early days. And Tractor Supply has has certainly stepped up to the plate in all the things they do, from printing of brochures and direct check writing for the responsibility. But there are so many other sponsors.
There really are. Purity Dairies has been with us from the beginning, and they gave us a lot of good ideas about things they knew from other fairs, besides providing financial help and product. And the Farm Bureau stepped up and got very involved, and especially around the Little Ones exhibit. The Tennessee Department of Agriculture, of course, gave us a grant. That's how we bought the cow. And we've got other help from them.
When you say cow, it's not a real cow.
Not a real cow, but a lot of kids think it's a real cow.
A lot of adults think it's a real.
Another one we should mention, the Williamson Farmers Co-op, of course, is the sponsor for the Children's Barnyard, and that's something that needs to be mentioned. Besides helping financially and providing other things, Larry Dale's one that's there every day helping with whatever needs to be done. So, that's the kind of help that, you just can't get along without.
Well, and the Cattlemen's Association,
Right.
It's probably helped them financially, because the money that they raise and serving the food and selling the steaks and the hamburgers and things
Right.
helps to promote the idea of scholarships that they're able to pass out. And before I shift over to Diane to talk about some of the other sponsors, it is important to think that most of the money that is received in there, a lot of that money, not a lot, most of that money is poured back into our ag center for
Right.
improvements, whether it's from the ag side or from the facility side. We spend a great deal of money, send a lot of money back out into the community. Forget about just the economic development piece, that people come here, stay all night, eat in our restaurants, buy the foods in our businesses, and support those sponsors. But we give money to Centennial, for an example, that all of the parking that occurs there for that 9-day event in August, they receive a check that goes directly to their Band Boosters Association. And there are many others. Ravenwood is there, and there are many other schools and activities that support the fair, but also in turn we turn around and write a check. Other sponsors, Diane?
That's part of it, is giving back to the community, because the community gives so much to us. Well, we have so many different sponsors. We had Cigna Healthcare, of course, provides government employee day, which doesn't just work for Williamson County employees, but after we have given out all the tickets to our staff, then we make those available to the municipalities here in Williamson County, and then we have some state agencies that also call and get them, and that's a big deal for families to be able to have 2 tickets to come in to the fair. And again, Drew partners with us for the ride specials, so Cigna's a big sponsor, and you've got Verizon and Williamson Medical Center, and you just couldn't do without the things that they provide from community support with their booth there on the mezzanine. And there's just so many of them, it's hard to recall them all, but you as you indicated earlier, we just couldn't do it without our sponsors and our volunteers.
And one of the corporate sponsors that moved into our community, other than just Verizon, Williamson Medical Center has been here a long time, but you think of Nissan and what they have contributed to the fair. Vanderbilt is now there. They actually were on the main stage this year. Their name was prominently displayed, and there's just so many different people that contributed to that to make it a successful fair, because at the end of the day, when we finish our 9-day fair in August, we've got to have money in the bank to prepare for the next year's fair. And it costs a lot to put on a fair. Now, I do want to point out we've got one paid person that works for the fair, and Terry does an outstanding job for us, and overseeing and keeping that fair going all year long, the answers to the questions and etc. that requires her to do. We have 2 other people that kind of work on a commission for sponsorship and for vendors, but that's it as far as people being paid. And so it is a labor of love, and if you're watching this show and you say, well, I'd like to help, but I can't give that kind of time and energy, there's a spot for you from 2 hours, there's a spot for you for 4 hours. There's so many things we can do. Just having people to sit at a table, very, very similar like this, and meet people and answer the phones that come in, because during the fair, it's a very busy time. I know the 2 of you and many others, including myself, we're running around like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to dot the I's and cross the T's. But it has been a good venture for this county.
Right.
to participate in. This year, our theme was Life on the Farm. And someone at the fairgrounds asked me when we were out there, how do you come up with the different names? Now, I'm not going to attempt this morning or today to try to address all of the different names that we've had. And we do not have a theme for 2013 yet. That will start on August the 2nd, is that correct?
August 2nd through the 10th.
We do not have a theme, of which time our board members and people from the outside will indicate, try to come up with a title, but I'm sure it will be something centered around Williamson County, centered around agriculture.
Well, we want to start working on that real soon. We'll have a email that we'll send out to the fair board members and encourage everyone to participate with some suggestions and ideas, and then we'll get right to work on following and implementing that theme throughout the fair. And of course, one of the things we talk about ways we can improve, and one of the things I'd like to see us work on is taking that theme and decorating our front walkway with it, and throughout the exhibits and all the things that we do to incorporate that theme so that folks really understand that we are trying to highlight agriculture and utilize that throughout there. So we're looking for some decorating committee members.
Before I get too far along in this show today, I do want to say thanks to Bill Beavers. Bill Beavers has been with us since day one, and Bill experienced some health issues during the fair and had to kind of leave after 3 or 4 days. And as of today, I understand he is recovering just fine, and I'm sure he'll be right back out on those fairgrounds if his health allows him next year. But he's been such an integral part of our fair. Judy Hayes has been there from day one, and
Tommy Little.
And Jack Walton. We've got so many of the elected officials, Sadie Wade, Brenda Hyde, and David Coleman's not an elected official, but
Debbie Barrett,
Debbie
Joey
Barrett,
Davis,
you
they're
name
all
it,
there
they're all
helping.
there. And a lot of people say, well, they're probably doing that for political gain. I'm sure there's some of that. I'm a politician and I understand it, but you don't put in those kind of hours, long days, just for a few votes you can get. And besides, our fair has kind of taken on a different flavor. As you drive through that parking lot, they're not all Williamson County folks.
That's right. They're from everywhere. I forget how many states they said the courtesy cart guys had counted, and some Australia, and forgot what the other country was, but he was asking. I think there were 8 states and 2 other countries that they had counted this year.
And you talk about the courtesy carts. To kind of touch on that and the sponsorship of that, Diane.
Well, that's a sponsorship of the Grove, which is the new golf course going in out off of Arno Road, and then the
Tennessee
golf carts here in Franklin. They provide that to the fair, which enables us to get more volunteers, more ways for folks to help out, and that they provide transportation to and from the parking lot to the front gate and let folks off, and that's a big help, especially on the way out when the little ones are crying to go back and ride another ride or pet another animal in the barnyard or whatever. They're most appreciative of it, and we're most appreciative of having the opportunity to do so.
I think it's kind of been one of those signature things that we've looked back on, and the first 2 or 3 years we had the school buses that we rented.
Right.
And while I'm thinking of that, our fair is a 501c organization. We rent the fairgrounds from the county. We have to pay the rent just like everyone else does out there. And we started with school buses that we were leasing from them. We found out that wasn't as comfortable of a ride, nor did it answer the questions we wanted to about getting people to and from. And so the idea we started was actually by mistake. We were taking a few people out, and somebody said, well, why don't we do the golf carts and see if we can get those? And so that's kind of been a signature piece of our fair that you have not seen at other fairs. I know that we not intentionally overlooked, but it's like Kubota and TriStar, Tri-State, that, you know, the John Deere, the Kubota dealership, and all the other sponsors.
New Holland dealer
and
this
New
year out of
Holland
Nashville,
dealer out of Nashville. They were such a big hit for down on the main floor at one time. It seemed like there were more kids crawling over those big orange tractors than anything I've seen, and we're using them on the grounds, and we thank the sponsorships for that also. Shifting gears a little bit to some of the award-winning. We touched on one of them with Little Ones Farming, but we have dancing, we have singing, we have acts, we have entertainment, and they're all good, clean family acts. Of course, Elvis, the gentleman, Sean Cluss, that plays the part of Elvis, he seems to put more seats in seats than anyone I can think of. But let's don't overlook the effects of having an award-winning ag side too, DeWayne, about the beef side. If you touch a little bit about
we
our
had
goats.
a really big beef show this year, over 250 head, and then we had the little Longhorn show in addition to that. So we had some good beef shows. Our dairy show has migrated into being the regional junior dairy show that came here from the state fair, and we're just really proud of all the effort that goes into that. Willis Gillum, just put in a tremendous amount of time trying to help with that, and Chris Ellis, who runs the Dairy Goat Show, and they had over 400 head, I think, and Willis had over 400 head of sheep in the open sheep show. So just some really good numbers. Talking about the barnyard and educational exhibits are the little ones. I think the Little Ones Farm and the Children's Barnyard, almost like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig in terms of Little Ones Farming, gets a lot of attention, but the Children's Barnyard that Brenda Clarkson gives leadership to is a huge hit, and it's just like a beehive down there. As they dump out of Little Ones into that Children's Barnyard, and people just spread out and they're looking at all these different things all at the same time. And that's where we had the fish-lady cow this year, and you mentioned the sow with baby pigs. We're fortunate to be able to pull that off again. So a lot of stuff to see.
Well, and the other side too is what effect all of this has on your 4-H expansion and the growth you're seeing in that area through the University of Tennessee Ag Center.
Yeah, we've been a county that has stayed committed to what I call traditional 4-H. We've had just, when you look at our livestock program and compare it in the state, we have a high percentage of the total numbers in the state involved in that kind of program. And we've been able to bring in people on our staff that are committed to that and understand that philosophy. And we have a lot of families here that appreciate that.
Well, and I think it's important too to just digress a little bit from the Williamson County Fair and the 4-H activity. And when you think about our county, we are the fastest growing county over the last 10 years. But an interesting figure, we still have quite a bit of farmland out there, and a lot of acreage, and a lot of people make their living off from the farm. I know it could be from the ag side of animals, ag side, or the farming of the crops. We still have quite a few folks in this town that make a good living off of soybeans, and maybe not corn this year, but that was a weather-related issue. But I think it's even more important that all of our children, from an educational standpoint, learn to understand that chocolate milk does not come from a brown cow.
Right. The type of development that's happened in our county has opened the door to have a lot of people with a small acreage. And those folks, many of them understand the need to have their kids or grandkids involved in this. They appreciate what it teaches, the responsibility that comes from managing animals and that sort of thing. And I think that's driven a lot of the interest in our 4-H program. We had 40-something kids with chickens this year that were involved in that chicken show and sale. The 4-H chick chain, we call it, that goes back to the days when Sears sponsored that, decades ago.
I don't remember that, DeWayne. That must be one of those things that you're older.
Your memory just slipped. You're old enough to remember it.
We've got about 4 or 5 minutes left on the show, and we could talk about the fair all throughout the day. But one of the things that we do want to give some importance to is that we're committed to this fair for another year or two, and we had a very successful fair this year, and a lot of it was way beyond our control. It's just called having a good fair and being prepared for wonderful weather we had.
We were very blessed with the weather.
We were very blessed, and people wanted to come out. And we've got to work on issues like parking. We apologize to those people that had to wait to park, and for those that probably turned around and went home because they just couldn't get into the fairgrounds. That was not our intent to run you away. And so we'll be spending some time and energy, and I'm sure some money, on trying to figure out a solution for this. When the Ag Center was built, when Clint Calicott was the county executive, which was the forerunner of the county mayor's slot, I don't know that any of us ever sat down and dreamed up having a county fair at an ag center. And so the facility itself is probably not perfect. It's just not designed for having a big fair. And Jimmy Drew has been with us since day one, supports the fair, supports you in the off season
Right.
by buying some of the
4-H steers, that's right.
4-H steers. Our dream would be to someday to have a flat piece of land, 200-300 acres out there. But you've got to be able to pay for that, and you've got to be able to support that. And you have to also be able to show that kind of investment would pay dividends over the remainder of the 50 weeks a year that you would have it. I think we're slowly approaching that period of time. Certainly when you come off from a very comfortable fair that we've just had, it gives ignition and gives fuel for the fire. Hey, we need a bigger place, not only for parking, but to spread our wings out too. So I know those are things we'll have to address. Other things you see we'll have to work on during the next year or two?
Well, certainly the design and layout of the facility, we have to give everyone kudos that's involved in the fair and making the best out of what we have. As you indicated, we have a facility and we're fitting a fair into it. It wasn't designed as a fairgrounds, and moving forward, if we get that new facility and flat land somewhere, we'll know better now how to lay it out to work with the fair. But just appreciate everybody's patience in working through what we have.
And you know, one thing that we overlook sometimes when we think about the fair, Kenny Wallace and his crew out there, that's a real tug and a strain. I know, DeWayne, you're out there on a day-to-day basis where your office is. But Kenny and his staff do a wonderful job in helping us to get ready for that fair. Our own area of the public safety this year did an extra job in being prepared for in the event of an emergency. Right. And we had to implement it one time just from the standpoint of bad weather. So, wow, what a year for 2012. It's been a very successful fair from the standpoint of the financial side. Again, we were in the black. We've never been in the red, and I want to say thank you to the people that support that. Once again, to our sponsors, to all of our 1,400 volunteers, our Rotary clubs, so many different groups
Right.
that make this fair possible. And to you too, especially for your involvement. There's 10 or 12 that we have an executive team and meet on a monthly basis. Thank you, DeWayne. Thank you, Diane,
Thank you for what you do.
for your hard work. Closing remarks?
Getting ready for our 10th anniversary.
DeWayne?
Appreciate the chance to showcase agriculture. It's really a great place to do that in a county that's moving away from that in many ways, but we appreciate the opportunity we've had to do that at the fair.
I'm Roger Sanderson with DeWayne, Perry, Diane Giddens. We're with the fair today, but you can call us at 790-5700 if you want to get involved. We would love to have you. Have a good day.